Pubco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson, and Barry Trammell will join us on the phone. He's in Los Angeles, where the Thunder have closed out the Clippers in their semifinal matchup in the Western Conference Finals. But it's time for our 5 in 5 segment. And Barry, we got a lot of NBA talk, but we've got some other stuff too. Let's start though with that NBA talk, and we're fast forwarding already. It's time to look ahead. Spurs, Thunder. Who should fear who more in this matchup, Barry?
Well, I think the Spurs should fear the Thunder more. The Thunder has an excellent, in the same way that the Thunder has a very poor record against Miami. The Thunder has a great record against the Spurs. They won those 4 straight games in 2012, West Finals after going down 0-2. Since then, have dominated the Spurs in the regular season. It's a bad matchup for San Antonio. They don't have the young legs to contend with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and Reggie Jackson. I think the Spurs are scrambling in more than the Thunder is in preparation for this series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think the Spurs should be fearing the Thunder more, but I tell you what, I don't think that gap is maybe as wide as I thought it was at the end of the first round. After the first round matchup against the Mavs, Barry, I don't know what you think, but the way that first round matchup went for the Spurs, I thought maybe this is really the signaling of the end. But then in the second round, the Spurs just hit the accelerator, really blew past the Blazers. I thought a series that could go extended games, and instead they finished it up in 5. So, yeah, I like the Thunder's advantage, but I don't think it's as large as it was even a couple weeks ago. Spurs really playing well, although the health of Tony Parker will be important for the Spurs. The health of Serge Ibaka will be important for the Thunder. We'll have to see how all that plays out. Okay, more talk about the Western Conference Finals, Barry. The Thunder's biggest advantage is?
I think it's at point guard in terms of just a physical mismatch at point guard. When you talk about Russell Westbrook and Reggie Jackson, remember, the Thunder went down to San Antonio without Westbrook, and Reggie just lit them up. I think it was a 30-point performance. And Tony Parker and Patty Mills, very good, dynamic point guards for the Spurs, but they don't match up athletically, whereas the Clippers were overmatched, but a guy like Chris Paul is such a fierce competitor, and Darren Collison is little but also very athletic. The Clippers sort of had a chance. The Spurs have no chance. I think you'll see the Spurs do some different things. I think you'll see Danny Green switch over and try to check a little bit with Russell Westbrook, but it's a huge, huge advantage for the Thunder at the point guard position.
Yeah, and it's even bigger if Tony Parker's a little bit slow. I think Russell Westbrook could just be in attack mode, and Reggie Jackson, too, for that matter. But I think the Thunder also has a big advantage just with its youth and its legs. I mean, I think we've seen that continue to play out as these playoffs have gone on. You know, even against teams that are much more spry and much more youthful than the Spurs are, you just see the Thunder continuing to throw out guys who are talented and very athletic. And, you know, a guy like Steven Adams, who had played a fairly significant role up until Game 6 against the Clippers, but then he plays 40 minutes. He plays an unbelievable game for the Thunder in that game. And, I mean, a guy like that thrown up against a talented but aging Tim Duncan, I mean, to me, that still is where the Thunder has its biggest advantage, because it spans so many positions. It's Russell Westbrook. It's Reggie Jackson. It's Kevin Durant. It's those guys in the post, Serge Ibaka, Steven Adams. So I still think something we've talked about for years, the old legs of the Spurs and the young legs of the Thunder, I still think that's where Oklahoma City sees its biggest advantage in this playoff series. All right, lastly, Barry, about the Spurs and the Thunder. To beat the Spurs, the Thunder must?
The Thunder must play disciplined defense. The advantage the Spurs have is just simple execution. They pass the ball like crazy. They run their offense. They try to get you out of position, not by beating you off the dribble so much, as just by beating you off the pass. And while the Thunder has some excellent defenders, it also has some defenders that gamble a lot. Russell Westbrook, I'm talking to you, has some defenders that can get out of position. So the Thunder needs to maintain the fort and stay in front and play a solid defense, because the Spurs can make you pay. Got a lot of three-point shooters. No great three-point shooters, I don't think, but a bunch of good ones. So disciplined defense will be very important for the Thunder.
Well, and I think it's also a must for the Thunder to use its defense to create offense. To beat the Spurs, the Thunder must do that. That gets you out in transition. That puts the Spurs at a huge disadvantage. That plays into what I think is the Thunder's biggest advantage with that youth and that athleticism that they have. So the Spurs are such a well-oiled machine on offense. The ball movement that we'll see in this series is just unbelievable. It's going to be frustrating to Thunder fans at times because the Spurs are going to move it and they're going to find great shots and they're going to knock them down, and that's going to happen. But the Thunder has to figure out a way to get misses and then get quick outlets to get down the floor. Beat the Spurs. Use that athleticism that they have to really take advantage and get some easy baskets. All right, our fun question of the week, Barry. Hey, Rihanna showed up at the Clippers game, Game 6 the other night with some pink hair. Was even maybe having some fun with Kevin Durant. But, Barry, if you had to dye your hair one color, what would that be?
Well, I don't really believe in fantasy land all that much, so we're going to turn this question around. I'm going to answer for you, and then you can answer for me. So,
all right, let's go.
What color of hair would I like to see Jackie O in? And I think it's bright green. Out here in LA, you see all kinds of things. And there's a girl at the game last night walked by, and she had hair the color of a lime. And I thought, you know what? That would be pretty cool on Jackie O. So I would like to see bright green hair streaming from your head.
All right, I'll go with some blue for you, Barry. I'm not even sure. I'd have to think here for a second. I'm thinking more in terms of a sort of a military blue, sort of maybe a lightish blue. You know, we give you a hard time that you have a lot of dedicated readers who are older. You call them blue hairs yourself, Barry. I think you just got to play to your strength and go for it, right?
I'm just glad you didn't say you wanted to dye my hair brown. That's all. That's the only thing that I cared about.
All right. Lastly, Barry, hey, let's talk about something not the NBA for just a second. A big story breaking this week about Oklahoma State football. It's going to lose a practice day because of their academic progress rate not being good enough. True, false, Barry? OSU losing that practice day is a big deal.
You know what? It sounds crazy. I actually don't think it is a big deal, particularly at OSU. Mike Gundy, for several years now, has gone really soft on his team in terms of hard practices. He takes it easy on a very light practice on Sunday, takes Monday off. So Tuesday, Wednesday are really the only days they practice hard. They have a light practice Thursday, a walkthrough Friday. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I can see the Cowboys just scrapping the Sunday practice, just watch some film, and then no practice on Sunday. I mean, it's obvious that they would prefer to practice, but I really don't think it's a big deal.
Well, I'm going to go the other way. I think in terms of this season, it is a big deal. I'm going to say true because of all the youth that they have on this team, the inexperience they have on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You're looking at breaking in new safeties. Your cornerbacks are maybe first string. They've seen some action, but after that, you're looking at trying to get guys into the fold to really establish themselves. Linebacker, a position that you're bringing in a bunch of new guys. Obviously, that good defensive front. But I think especially on the defensive side of the ball, the more time that those guys have on the field, the better in practice. So for them to lose a day, I think it is a big deal. Now, maybe if you go back last year or the year before, maybe it's different. Maybe it doesn't quite have the impact. But I really think with this year's team, it could have an impact. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know what day they're going to scrap. They may move it around. I can't imagine they will, consistency being what it is in college football. Maybe they scrap that walkthrough day on Friday or, like you said, Barry, on Sunday. But I think the more time on the field for a young team, the better. So I don't think this can be a good thing for the Cowboys. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.